What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the biker channel B1. Today, you're joining the 30th episode of the BiKER Bar. If you're not familiar with what the BiKER Bar is, it's a weekly podcast, live stream podcast live stream. You can say it either way, actually. It doesn't matter. And it goes for about 1 to 2 hours, just a long format discussion between a couple of people like bikes. Usually I'm drinking beer. Today, I'm pretty sure my host is as well. And but before we get started, I wanted to just say a few things to you guys. First of all, thanks a lot for the super chats. Like Brian T just starts right out with a $5 super chat. Thanks a lot, buddy. And anybody else that just so happens to throw one up in the middle of the stream, please know that I completely appreciate it. It keeps the channel going, just like if you were able to support me in some other way. But I want to make sure that you guys realize that I don't always have the opportunity to call people out like I just did with Brian. And please don't hesitate to stop or to not stop. Man, I just fucked that all up. So anyways, don't stop the super chats. I like the super chats. That makes me happy. So with that being said, let's move on. There is a Facebook channel and a Instagram channel that go along with the biker channel, the biker YouTube channel. So if you go to Instagram and go to @BikerB1, so B1KER B1, or Facebook if you're over 30, I guess, because that's where only old people go. And stop by and follow the biker channel there. It's good for me. It's good for whenever I'm talking to different companies about hooking you guys up with some coupons. If you don't know what coupons I'm talking about, if you stop by patreon.biker.com, I have a Patreon channel there where you can support me with a monthly amount of change. So you could either give $1 a month and get access to the coupons, or you could do $5 a month, get some biker stickers that you can throw up all over the place and hopefully legally put them where I can see them on the trail, because obviously there's lots of legal places to stick stickers. And otherwise you can put them in the back of your car. I've yet to see one like driving down the freeway on somebody's car. That would really make I'd get pretty stoked if I saw that. Also, if you want to get like a biker hat or a biker shirt, like this no fucks given shirt that I'm wearing right now, that you can pick up at shop.biker.com. So shop.b1KER.com, and get you some biker swag. Go out there and represent. So today's guest is somebody I haven't had on before, and I also haven't had somebody that does this kind of content before. This guy's name is Aaron, and he runs a company called Bixxel Media. Aaron, I'll let you explain what Bixxel Media does, and we'll go from there.
All right, cool. Hey, Robert, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
Yeah, so basically I'm a professional photographer, and I focus on mountain biking, and I do some road cycling, and I do some CX as well. But we cover bike races pretty much. Well, last year I didn't travel to Southern California, but it's mainly Northern California. Covered like the California Enduro Series, the North Star Downhill Series, the Prairie City CX races. I'm right in the middle of the TBF, Total Body Fitness mountain bike racing season. So a lot of people you'll see me out there cruising around with my big 70-200 Sony camera or lens and camera on my backpack, and that's basically what I've been doing right now. What we got going on.
So how long have you been a photographer?
Well, professionally over the last year, but I've dabbled in a lot of photo and video work over the last, probably 10 years, but seriously over the last year. I got serious in the mountain biking gig, probably actually when the Prairie City races started last year in April.
So those of you guys that aren't from the area that we are, he's local to me as well here in Northern California, and Prairie City is a weekly race series that they have out at this area called Prairie City, which some of you guys that may be familiar with moto, they have a big moto race out there, and otherwise you can go out there with your truck and get it stuck when it's muddy or whatever you want to do. So it's like a fun place to do a bunch of stuff. So don't they do that series? If I remember, they used to always like have like a bike that you won. If you won the whole series, you got like a bike or something like that.
I don't know, because last year was the first year I was out there, and actually they have new owners. Jen and Clint Clausen run that series now. They also run Clifton races. And so I don't think they were offering up a bike, but somebody won a bike. They do another race called the Motherlode Epic, which is a cool race. It starts way up. gosh, I don't even know. It's up by Salmon Falls. They start further up, above Salmon Falls, and then they have boats that take you across Folsom Lake. But I know somebody won a bike in that, but I think that was via a raffle.
Yeah. That sounds really good. I could be completely mistaken, or it could have been something that they just did one year, like 5 years ago, and in my memory that was like 6 months. So
you're like, cool, they got somebody got a free bike. That's awesome,
right? They just do that all the time. So, so what is it that you that how is it that you're getting the jobs that you're getting? Are you just like, are you getting to print magazines, or are you selling to like stock photos, or like, because there's a bunch of different ways you can make money as a photographer?
Yeah, and I've just kind of really scratched the surface of that. Basically, I just kind of I was doing it for fun at Prairie City Races, because I wanted to kind of do some photo work for our little bike camps that we run through a company called Freedom Riders Mountain Bike. My gal Trisha the Jersey came up with the idea, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to be the social media guy. I had a bunch of equipment. I said, well, I'm going to go practice. And I went out to Prairie City and started shooting the races out there, and learned about some online. There's like online photo housing companies. Like there's Pixie Set, there's Smug Mug, and I think there's a couple other ones. And you can host all your pictures on these things, and people can go on there and you set a price, and they can buy digital files or print. So however you want to set it up. So I went out there and put some of the photos up, and sure as shit, people started buying them. And I go, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, right.
It's like kind of getting a new subscriber on YouTube, and then I got another subscriber. That's awesome. And so I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this. And so then I was like on crack.
Right.
I started watching every YouTube video on photography, on Lightroom, how to process your photos, camera gear. I'm a podcast junkie for all these creative photography and artsy podcasts. So right now, the way that I'm doing it is I'm basically just a freelancer, and I go to the races and I sell the photos to the participants.
Oh, okay.
And but I do have some photos up at Stock Photography. The thing with Stock Photography, and I don't know if you know anything about Stock Photography, is you can't have company logos in your photos. And and if you're on,
pretty much everybody's wearing somebody's logo.
You can't walk to a bike race and not see Bell or SRAM or Shimano plastered over everything.
Right.
So it's a pain in the ass to try to go into Photoshop and remove every logo off a person or the bike or off their socks or their shoes.
So basically you have to go in and then, like what you just said, just Photoshop all that out. And then obviously Photoshop it well, not like, the old iPhone app and little squiggly red line.
Yeah. The stock photography companies will see that right away and reject it. So they're pretty strict on the quality and the photo content. So it's that I kind of dabbled that in a little bit. I probably have about 10 photos out there. I haven't made a sale on them yet. I think I posted them about 3 months ago. And then there's commercial photography, where like you can do print magazines, website stuff. And I'm just starting to get into that as well. So I'm pretty early on in my career right now. I mean, I've just started over the last year. I'm going to be going full time here pretty soon. Doing it, traveling a lot more because I'm going to cover races all over California.
Right on. So when you got into photography, I mean, a lot of people that are watching YouTube or follow the channel, like they're interested in maybe doing their own channel or doing their own kind of stuff. Maybe it's just for fun or whatever. And to me, like one of the things that was really hard was just learning about cameras in general. Like what did you do to like kind of be like, what is white balance? What is all this?
I consumed everything I could on YouTube because I kind of had a little bit of understanding. Because so I still have a YouTube channel, but it's under a different name. It's called Aaron LeSueur Outdoors. And I did a show. It was a fishing show because I used to be a professional bass fisherman for about 10 years. And so I kind of had an idea of some of the ins and outs, but it was mainly the video side, and not so much the photography side. So I had to consume everything I could about white balance and your ISO and shutter speeds and the appropriate shutter speed for motion and those kind of things. And the learning curve is pretty steep, but there's a ton of info out there. And so I basically got rid of DirecTV and I watched nothing but YouTube for like, I don't know. I still don't have DirecTV. It's probably been 8 months or so. where I'm constantly on YouTube because you can never stop learning. There's always something new coming out, or a technique that I knew nothing about, or a cool angle I've never seen. So
there's an unbelievable amount of information on YouTube and cat videos. So, you were mentioning a fishing show. That's actually pretty interesting. How do you when you did that show, did you have like multiple cameras set up on the boat and you kind of hit from different angles, or like vlog a little bit while you were doing it? How did that work?
It was a little bit of everything. So what I did was I love to do research on things, and so there's so many other fishermen out there, and there were so many other shows, and I said, what can I do that's different and better than these shows? And most of them were like kind of static, straight angles on, and they didn't have a good mic. They weren't wireless. They had it they had their camera on the back of their boat, so it was really far away. Their audio was terrible, or their video production wasn't very good. So I'm like, I could probably do this a lot better. So I would have a static camera at the back of the boat. I'd have a GoPro camera at the front of the boat, and I even got one of my buddies who's really smart built an arm, and so I had about a 10-foot arm off the back of my boat and the seat that stuck way off the boat. So you got this weird, cool, like kind of side angle. So I had like a 3-angle, basically shoot. The problem was, but if you're doing any video work, then you got to import 3 different cameras, the footage from 3 cameras, and cut and splice and do all this cool stuff. So the camera angles are always changing.
Right.
So that's kind of how I cut my teeth in the video and that sort of world, was kind of learning on the fly and putting that show together. It was called The Truth. The other thing I did was, it was a show, because I don't know if any of the mountain bikers that listen to the podcast ever fish, but fishermen are super secretive about where they fish, and they don't want to give up their spots.
All right.
And the premise of my show was I showed you everything. I showed you on Google Earth, and I gave waypoints on exactly where I was fishing, how I was fishing. And for a while there, I had a bunch of guys all mad at me because they were like,
sounds like the mountain biking industry, where they're like, don't tell our secret trails in UC Santa Cruz that everybody in the fucking world knows.
Right. That's exactly the way it was. And so guys were all pissed off at me and sending me messages on Facebook, like, you're an a-hole, they're giving up all our secrets. And I was like, it's working. This is cool. I'm pissing them off. I go, I've got a good show.
Right. If you're pissing people off, you're doing it right. Yeah. So how did you go from doing that? Because it sounded like you're doing a pretty good job with that, right? What made you decide that that was like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Well, I had a couple of different hobbies. So not only did I have a passion for fishing, but I also loved mountain biking. I've been mountain biking for like 15 plus years. And I was kind of going back and forth between the two. And then my gal, Trisha DeJersey, my partner in crime and the love of my life, by the way, who is a mountain biker, started a kids mountain biking camp. She's a teacher, loves mountain biking, and decided, let's do something to help teach kids get into the sport. So we started Freedom Riders MTB, and it's basically spring and summer camps for kids when they are not in school, who want to come learn the basics of mountain bike. We teach we've had kids that are 6 years old all the way up to 14-year-olds.
So those of you guys that watch my POV videos, I did a video a while ago. I think it was actually about my new bike day for the Chameleon, but I was out at a fundraiser for the Paradise Fire, and they were out there as well. And that's right. Actually how I came to know who Aaron was.
Yeah. So basically what happened was I came to a tipping point where it was either spend all my time on the road and do that fishing show and not be with my family, or I jump on board with Trisha and her business and be kind of like the social media kind of person, take the photos of the camp and help promote and run with the mountain biking biz. And that's the one I chose. And so I basically sold my boat and scrapped the show. It was January of last year.
Wow. So did you already have like a bunch of camera gear at that point? Like you've kind of accumulated along the way?
Yeah, and it was mainly centered around video. I had my main camera was a Sony A6500, and I had a Zeiss 16 to 70 lens that I used on that. Was my main camera on the boat, and everything I had was revolved around video.
Right.
Because I didn't do
So
a
that
whole
camera that you had shot like 4K or something like that, or
yeah. So and I didn't really shoot in 4K because it ate up a lot of your memory card.
yeah.
And I didn't have to punch in quite a bit since I had that zoom lens and it was static anyway on the boat. So I shot in just basically HD, but it had that capability for sure.
Yeah, my understanding is you can just upscale from 1080 to 4K and still look good on YouTube.
Right, because the compression on YouTube is so yeah, you can definitely do that.
Right on. So what was the first camera that took you from like the guy that doesn't know how to do photography to photography?
Well, it was that A6500 because that thing's actually a really great camera.
So before that, you were like a point and shoot kind of camera guy?
I didn't even have a camera before then.
Right.
I just had I had a GoPro, but that was when I first started doing the videos. Oh, I take that back, Robert. I've had a Sony, like the highest end video camera you could buy. It was before you got into the prosumer side. It was a consumer model Sony video camera, so it didn't take stills. It was just mainly video.
Oh, okay.
I started with that on the boat, and I had a buddy who was kind of doing the same thing. And I saw he had a Sony A6500, and he's like, "Hey, you can not only can you shoot stills with this thing, but it has just as good, if not better, video quality than your camera." And it was like it came in a little smaller package, and you could use all the interchangeable lenses. And I was like, "Oh, cool! You could throw it on a hand. I've got a Zhiyun Crane hand gimbal that I would use." So I basically sold that video camera for the A6500, and that kind of is where I kind of branched out from that one.
So once you started with the A6500, then how did you learn about like white balance and all this and that?
That was that's when I started going on YouTube and different channels and watching tutorials. And there's another app. It's a company. I don't know if you may or may not have heard of this person, Chase Jarvis. He has a company called Creative Live. And they do online classes or tutorials. That's an app, and they have all these cool people come in from the industry, whether it's artists, people that do hand drawings, video, photography, and they do all these classes. And you can get, because I'm kind of cheap, so I spend all my money on my camera gear.
Right.
You get one free module of that class every day, so you can watch a photography class on the basics, 101 photography, and you can watch one of those classes. There might be 20 modules, and you can watch one class every day for 20 days. And that's pretty much what I would do.
What was the name of the website again?
It's called Creative Live, creativelive.com.
Creativelive.com. I'll have to throw that in the show more. See, I'm going to write this down so I actually remember it for a change. I always tell people I'm going to put stuff in the show more, and then I forget about it.
I have my boy watching. He wants to become a graphic designer, and so I've got him watching one show a day or a class a day as well right now.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I pulled up the Sony A6500, and it says that it's a mirrorless camera. What does that mean? Yeah,
it's really cool because before we had just had regular film strip camera, and then they came out with digital format, which was called a DSLR. I don't even know what the acronym stands for, but what a DSLR has, it's got a mirror in the camera body, and what happens is the image comes to the front of the camera, bounces off the mirror, and it shoots it up into a sensor.
Well, the sensor is what is capturing the picture.
That's correct. Yeah. So but now with these mirrorless technology there's no mirror, and it's the image comes directly through the lens and hits on the sensor that's flat, basically straight in front of the lens. So you don't have that extra step. And the cool thing about a mirrorless camera is that it's got an EV, which is an electric viewfinder. So that means it's when you're looking through on the back of your camera or through the viewfinder itself, you're actually seeing the image that you're taking real time. So then you adjust your exposure or frame it properly and all this other cool stuff. And on the new camera that I have, which is the Sony A9, it shoots like a crazy amount of 20 frames per second. It almost looks like a video when you hold the shutter down and that you're following someone like a mountain biker. It almost looks like you're watching a video in your camera, and it shoots so fast.
Somebody says digital single lens reflex is what it stands for. See, this is what we got all these guys in the chat for.
That's awesome.
That's one of those things that you know for about 10 seconds and then you forget it again. Unless you're Daniel. Daniel has it down. So that being that real time with the viewfinder is just it makes that much of a difference because you're actually capturing like what's happening at that very instant. That's what you're kind of going for.
Yeah, because the other problem that you would have with the DSLRs is that you would get what's called blackout. So when you take a picture, your screen goes black
for a second. You can't
for a second. So with electric viewfinder, your screen never has that blackout. So you're always seeing your subject as they're moving. So if you have a DSLR that shoots 12 frames a second, it would have a blackout in between each frame. And so so on the EV, the electric viewfinder, it's real time. You never have that blackout as well. So
is a DSLR like better for taking like studio photos then?
Or
is it just a preference thing?
I think it's just an older technology because a lot of the companies now are moving towards mirrorless. So Canon just came out with a mirrorless camera, and I think I just saw on Facebook like Olympus just came out with a mirrorless camera. So I think it's kind of where they're moving, where they're moving towards. And the mirrorless cameras are a lot smaller as well. They don't have to. The camera body and housing itself doesn't have to be as large because it's not housing as much of the mechanical moving parts. So a little bit smaller, less heavy, easy to kind of put in a backpack, and just more mobile.
So if you were recommending somebody to get a camera to like do some like nice still shots, maybe a little vlogging with or something like that, you would recommend to at least start out with something that you can switch the lenses with, or just start with something that's kind of like all in one package that then like you can learn on a little bit first?
Yeah, that's a hard question because there's so many different cameras out there that it depends on what you're doing. Like for me, for example, I upgraded about 3 months ago from the Sony A6500 to the Sony A9, which is like their flagship beast of a camera. It shoots 20 frames a second. The autofocus on it is super fast. And I got it specifically for shooting bike racing. I needed something that was fast frame rate, and the autofocus on it. I was missing some shots on the Sony A6500 because it was just a hair slower, and I was missing.
So like some guys like coming off a jump, and you're trying to like get the mud puddle that he just went through splashing at the same time, and because the camera just wasn't as fast when you were like pulling the trigger, then you're missing things. Like you'd have the guy entering the shot and then leaving the shot, but not in the middle of the shot where you wanted him.
Well, no, that'd be your shutters. That's frames captured per second. So I'm talking about when that guy comes over the jump and the camera locks onto him and nails the focus. It's your autofocus system.
Yeah.
So sometimes the delay on it, like it would miss that before when I pressed the button and it wasn't done focusing yet. So that person would be out of focus.
So that would suck. So you have like the perfect frame shot, but it looks like you're drunk.
Exactly. So to go back to your question, it depends on if somebody wants a vlogging camera. There's like specific cameras for vlogging. If you want a sports camera, there's a specific one for that. There's one for landscape or for portraits. So that's why there's a big line from top to bottom, whether it's Sony or Nikon or Olympus. So you just kind of have to figure out which one is going to work for your niche, and that goes for the lenses that you want to choose as well. Depends on what you're doing. So it's really hard to say which camera is going to be the best or what's going to work for someone. But I just say, just go with what you can afford in the beginning. That's going to have some versatility with what you want to do. It's just, you don't need to start at the top, but if you can come in, like Sony makes 3 really good mirrorless. They make a 6000. I think they just came out with a 6400 because it's replacing the 6300, and they have a 6500. That's kind of like their mid-range cameras, and those are all awesome. They all have different features. It just depends on what you want to do.
So let's just go ahead and we'll talk through it being me, because I've been contemplating getting a camera for quite some time, and it's like I just keep going back and forth because I have that like I'll start out with, I don't know, it's probably something like the 6500 where it's like a decent camera, about a grand. Right. And next thing you know, I'm looking at like $5,000 cameras. And then after about 2 hours of that, I'm punch myself in the face. And then I'm back to like, well, I can shoot 4K with my iPhone. Fuck it. So, like I don't know, like, and I think it's just because there are so many options. So I don't really know where to start, but I would want something that I think I could set up on a tripod or something like that and ride by. It's gonna autofocus well for that.
Right.
And then as well as like, I think vlogging, I mean, for the most part, I would assume that most cameras autofocus is good, but I have heard some of my other YouTubers say that, you know, don't buy this camera. The autofocus is horrible. It's like,
right.
I don't know. I don't know, like, what else should I be looking at in a camera?
Well, you're on the right track. And using your iPhone for vlogging versus say like the A6500, the A6500 has in-body stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
So the in-body stabilization, when if you're walking around at an event or something like that and holding the camera, you're going to have shaky footage on your iPhone versus the 6500 that has in-body stabilization.
Mm-hmm.
It's like IBIS, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
The same thing, or OSS, which is optical stabilization, because a lot of their lenses that you can buy will have the stabilization in the lenses, so you're getting double stabilization, so your footage is going to look so good.
Mm-hmm.
Versus somebody who doesn't, they're walking around with their Gorilla Pod and their camera going, and it's unwatchable. I mean, I don't know if you've watched some of these YouTube channels where somebody's doing that and that their camera's shaking all over or their audio's crap.
I totally know what you're saying.
Unwatchable stuff. So if you're going to you got to look to see if your camera's got in-body stabilization, first of all, if you're going to do any sort of vlogging. And then you got to decide, do you want, like a Sony A6500 doesn't have a flip out screen.
Yeah, I think there's another Sony model I'm thinking of. I can't think of, I thought it was I don't remember what it is, but it does have a screen that flips up or something like that.
They just came out with. It's a 6400, and
is that what that is?
Yeah, it flips up behind the camera. Some of the other cameras,
because there was another Sony that had something like that, but it always overheated at 4K, so that's why everybody steered away from it.
That was the 6300 that would have the older 6500 when Sony's had an overheating problem for a while with 4K because it just heats up their processor and they're so fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the other reasons I didn't shoot 4K when I was out on boat, because I was shooting in the sun and the camera was black. So I never wanted to run into that overheating issue when I was out there. But the Sony's never made a flip out screen. Their screens come out and they'll tilt. They've never flipped completely to either to the side or up.
Maybe I was thinking about something else.
There's other cameras that for the vloggers like better because the screen flips to the side and then you can see your frame and make sure you're not cutting half your face off and that kind of stuff. So
right, don't want to cut your face off.
No, it makes for bad video.
So let's see here. So whenever you first started, for me, whenever I pick up one of these cameras that looks like this, got a little knob on the top, bunch of pictures and a bunch of freaking like hieroglyphs, I have no clue what they mean. Yeah. So what were the things that really perplexed you the most? And then like, what's your easy way of explaining those?
Ooh, what perplexed me the most? I think the hardest kind of thing in the beginning is to learn what's called the exposure triangle. Mm-hmm. So you've got three main things on your camera that control exposure and what you're trying to shoot. You have your ISO, which is kind of like fake light almost. It's what controls the sensitivity of your sensor. And then you have shutter speed, which controls how long the shutter's open and how much light it lets in. And then you have your aperture, and that's the actual opening on your lens. And that controls how much light either comes in, whether it's a small aperture opening or a large. So when you move one, it affects all the other ones. So I'll give you an example. When I'm shooting mountain bike racing, I always have to shoot at a high shutter speed because I have to stop motion. And some of these guys on the downhill circuit are going 50 miles an hour.
Okay.
So I got to have a shutter speed that's going to be able to stop motion, so there's not going to be any blurriness to that shot. So if it's a cloudy day and I'm at 1,000th of a second, a lot less light's going to come in. So something else has to move up, whether it's my ISO, which is the sensitivity of the sensor, or it's going to have to be my aperture. I'm going to have to open up the lens to allow more light in. So trying to figure out and to know on the fly how each one affects each other is a little bit of a learning curve. And it depends on what you're shooting. So
that's just taking pictures and screwing it up for a while until you actually get it.
Yeah. So that's what I did. It's a lot of testing. Like, okay, I'm going to shoot this and see what this happens. And then
so essentially on like a point and shoot, it's doing all that. It's just like kind of got some kind of algorithm that figures that out for you.
So that's the other thing I was going to mention. And when you're first starting, the camera has a setting on there where all you have to do is press a button. It's basically auto mode. It's got a big A on it. And that's for auto. So you do nothing, but you can't, once you start learning some other things and wanting to shoot maybe sports or a long exposure, see those cool star streaks or whatever, you got to learn, you have to set your camera in manual, and you've got to be able to learn to know what affects what and the shot you want to get. But that all takes time. And then just watching as much as you can on YouTube and tutorials. There's some really good ones out there, and there's some really bad ones too. But
so do you ever go out and film with a GoPro at all when you're riding?
I just bought the Hero 7.
What do you like about the 7?
The stabilization on it is ridiculous now.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing I like is now it's got that on the Hero 6. I had the 6 and the stabilization was pretty good. I think I've had every GoPro model that they made so far from 1 through 7.
Yeah,
I've upgraded every time, and so when you went from the 5 to the 6 had the in-body stabilization and it had voice activation, and now the 7's stabilization is crazy good. Because you remember when I don't even know if they still make it, their little drone that they made.
Oh yeah, they had it. They crashed and burned on that drone.
I wouldn't call it little because it was pretty big, but
yeah. So they basically made what DJI did like a couple months later. They just didn't finish it.
Right. And well, it came with a Karma grip, and the Karma grip was that gimbal.
Yeah.
And so I was using that with the 6, and that thing's pretty awesome. You don't even need to use that with a 7 now. It's so crazy good. And then the other cool thing is, the 4K is better now because I think it shoots 60 frames a second versus the previous model was 30 frames a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then is the auto on feature. I don't know when you're riding, the coolest thing I thought was the voice activation.
Mm-hmm.
Because trying to film, like fool around and try to grab the GoPro on my head and is it on? And like what mode it was in. When they introduced like GoPro, shoot video or GoPro shoot a burst, I thought that was the coolest thing, especially for us mountain bikers that are trying to do some cool stuff while it's mounted in a weird spot on us.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear somebody's perspective that's not a YouTuber. So like a mountain bike YouTuber, because I mean, some of the things that you say, like I'm listening to, and I could see as a person who's not shooting the way that we're doing POV videos, like I'm like, oh no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, that would be really handy. For me, it's just annoying to like I don't want that auto on or off, because then I'm going to be questioning whether the damn thing's on or off. Like, and then I have it like I have it on a gimbal on my chest. Like I use the 4 because the audio is just really good. The 7, I've honestly considered getting the 7, but what I was telling myself was I'm just going to wait for my gimbals to break first, because as it is right now, I have super smooth footage. There's no sense in me going out and getting something that's more expensive for just like for shits and giggles, right? And the biggest thing that was always holding me back was just audio. So there was no, like the 5 and the 6 were a complete no-go to me, just because the audio. But so the reason that I had asked that is because like in the GoPros, like there's a few of those like pro settings that you were just talking about a minute ago, and that to me is like, it's still just such a it's a pain point for me. I'm not a super into like video kind of person to like really like get into like the nuts and bolts of all of it,
Right.
And I kind of want it to be simple, but on the other hand, I do want it to look good, right?
Right.
So, and like with the GoPro, it has some issues with like how it's going in and out of light and stuff like that. It can't really react to that very well, So I'm always I have this little cheat sheet that like I've put on my phone to say like, if it's cloudy, put the ISO to this, or if it's sunny, put it to this. But I think really all I do is screw it up every time. So what would be, do you have any of those like general rule of thumbs? Like if it's this weather or if it's like,
the GoPros, I usually try to put the GoPro in settings that don't allow the GoPro to do any color. Like if you look on there, there's Pro Tune on the back, so you can put it in Pro Tune, And then there's like GoPro color, there's like vivid or something else, and there's neutral. I always put the GoPro in something really neutral. And then I'll set, if it's ISO, sometimes I'll just set that to auto, but I can put a limit on it. Because if you notice on the back, it'll say what's your minimum and your maximum ISO. Because when the GoPro gets to a certain ISO, the footage is going to look like crap. It's going to be all grainy and bad.
Because it's like putting, like you said earlier, like fake light into it.
Yeah, and so you introduce what's called, so for the listeners, you introduce what's called noise. So what happens is when you take an ISO really high on any camera, you're going to see this weird pixelation. It's going to be green, red, and blue, I believe. And if you do it on any camera, you can do it. You'll see it in your iPhone photos. Go out and take a picture at night of your buddies or at a bar or something. You're going to see all this weird, like almost like TV kind of fuzz in there. Yeah. And that's the noise, because the sensor can't pick up all the light, and so it just automatically puts these weird, these green, because your screen is made up of green, red, and blue. And so it's going to put those dots in there. And so the thing, when you got to think of a GoPro, the sensor on a GoPro is super small. And so the smaller the sensor, the worse it's going to do in low light. So I always try to limit how high my GoPro is going to go on that ISO. So when you're talking about put your settings in there, it's okay to put it on auto, because you're going to be riding through the trees. It's going to be dark, and then you're going to go to light, dark, and light. And so that if you give it a limit, you're less likely to kind of screw your footage up. But what I would do is just kind of play with the settings, like go through check out your Pro Tune, and go, okay, there's ISO, there's shutter speed, and just kind of learn what the settings are, and just test it on the bike and go out and see what's kind of working and what doesn't.
So do you have like some kind of like similar perspective then when you're shooting with a camera as well? Or is it like, what are you doing with that?
I do the same thing, because I've actually just took the camera out for not this recent TBF race, but the one previous. I actually just set the camera up, and I set it up on you can do what do they call it, time lapses on it. I thought it would be cool just to set it up and see if I can get some cool time lapses in an area where the bikers were coming down this cool rocky section. So I basically I checked the light. I knew how fast the shutter speed needed to be, which I think I set it at 1,000, and then I set the ISO at whatever I wanted it to. I set it. I didn't put anything in auto, because I knew what settings I wanted. And actually, when I got the footage back, it looked like crap because I had them in a shadow, and all that noise showed up on it. And it was a good learning experience. And that's what you kind of have to do with the GoPros, is with any camera, you got to know its limitations and what you can and what you can do, what works and what doesn't work. And that's really a lot of it's by trial and error. And you can still kind of learn that stuff on YouTube. But you won't really kind of know until you kind of go and try and see it for yourself. I mean, it will reduce your learning curve a little bit from like tutorials and things like that. I mean, so it just depends.
So then I would assume that after you're taking your photos, even with your like race photos and stuff like that, are you then touching them up in Photoshop afterwards? Or is that like, just if you do the picture right, you don't have to do anything to it in Photoshop? Or yes. No, I'm gonna say no. I'm always doing something. So what happens is, man, we're going down the rabbit hole here. Yeah, dude, that's a good idea.
So when I'm out shooting a race, your camera has a couple settings on it. Everyone's seen what a JPG file is. Well, on your camera, you have a couple settings. You can shoot a JPEG, and then you have what's called RAW, which is RAW. So most professional photographers are going to shoot in RAW format, because what happens when a JPEG is a compressed file of whatever you just took. And what the compression does is that Sony or Nikon or whatever is they throw out information. So in order to get your file size to a certain size, it's got to throw out bits of your photograph away. But on a RAW photo, it doesn't do that. So it comes out, and every piece of information that you've got is on that file, but it's huge.
Right.
But it's ugly. So it's flat. There's no contrast to it. But the benefit is that if I go and I screw something up where I shoot, the light's too low or it's too high, I can bring a lot of that detail back because I shot it in that RAW format, which you cannot do in a JPEG file. So every time I go out and do a shoot, I shoot all of my photos in RAW, and I don't use Photoshop. I use another Adobe product, which is called Lightroom.
Okay, I know what that is.
So
at least what the icon looks like.
Right. They've got so many products. I don't even know half the stuff that they have. I have my Adobe suite, and I'm all, what is that? All this other cool stuff that they do that I have no clue what it is. But
I am like the worst spokesman for Adobe, because like I started out as, I told you earlier before we started the show that I do IT, and I've always done web along the way. And I was kind of a self-taught web person, like you were saying, that you learned a lot from the internet on how to shoot photos. And that's basically how I learned web design. And when I started doing web design, the best photo or the best web design app, let's just say at the time, was something by a company called Macromedia, and they had a product that later Adobe bought, and they turned into Adobe Fireworks. And so I really, really badly need to learn how to use Photoshop, but I'm so freaking efficient at Fireworks that it's so terribly hard for me to learn Photoshop, because I'm like, I just want this tool. Where the hell is it? And it takes me like 10 minutes to look it up on YouTube to find where that is. But I'm trying to force myself into it. So nonetheless, that's me in Adobe. It's like, to find Fireworks on the Adobe suite, you have to like enable like legacy programs, and it's still in there and they don't support it anymore. I'm like just hoping that somebody like lights a volcano in their office or something like that, and somehow like the Fireworks team comes back in with like machetes and takes control again. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
Revive it. Well, that's the other huge learning curve, is that learning your software. You not only have to learn your camera, there's lots of cool stuff you can do in the editing process, and that goes for video as well, because I also use Final Cut Pro for all my video work. There's a huge learning curve for all that stuff, and it takes so much time. So
what would be the difference then between why you use Lightroom and why you use Photoshop?
Lightroom is more of a management system where you can pull you have catalogs of all your photos, and you can manage them, and you can put them in different file systems, and you can easily find them. And you can still do lots of manipulation to your photographs, not to the extent that you can do in Photoshop. Photoshop allows you to overlay text and do all this crazy stuff. You can cut people out, and it's a much more powerful tool, but I don't need to use that for what I do. I mean, I'm just trying to shoot a cool photo of someone going off a berm, hitting a berm, or going off a jump, or throwing up some cool roost through some water. And I just manipulate the colors a little bit, and then I just export it as a JPEG into my hard drive, and then I upload it to my Pixie set that I use for my gallery, my online service.
So it just kind of like dumbs down Photoshop a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It's pretty simple, and it's still powerful at the same time, but I don't need to use all the other tools of Photoshop. And so I'm not like going and retouching somebody who's got, if they got, every once in a while I have to remove like a person like got in my photograph of somebody, and I go, oh man, that guy got in my shot, and I have to remove him, and so I'll move it into Photoshop and then pull it back into Lightroom. And so I do that every once in a while. But Lightroom is my main editing software. And then so once it goes into Lightroom and I tweak the colors and I think it looks cool, then I just export it and upload it to the gallery.
So earlier when you were talking about the different cameras, and you were kind of giving us some foresight on that, and we talked about like having a camera that you could switch lenses with. What would be a lens that like what would be the one lens that if you had to choose just one lens to have, what would like, is that the size or the stabilization type of lens, or like shoot far away? I don't know. Like what would be the one that like most people should start out with?
Okay, so for the average person, sorry, I got my kid texting me right in the middle of the show.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, so you're gonna want I'll talk about the average person. I'll talk about a sports shooter like myself. So the average person should get some sort of zoom lens. So you're going to want something that goes from like 16 to 70-ish, because that's a good all-around lens. So 16, when we're talking focal lengths, that's the little numbers on there, 16 millimeters to 70 millimeters. That's the actual focal length of your lens. So 16 is as wide as it will go. So that gives you like a cool landscape shot when you see these big, wide, cool landscapes of Yosemite or something like that. They're using a wide angle lens. If that's the small, or the small number on the lens number, it'd be 16. Then you want something that can go to 70 that gives you a little more close up, and you can use that for like portraits, or if you want to cut, if you're far away from maybe your kids playing sports and you want to zoom in a little bit to get a closer, fill up the frame a little bit, that gives you some leeway and a little more I should say leverage, but that's not the right word. But
so like you could do, like if you were doing some kind of, like for me, like if I was doing some kind of product shot, that would work too, because I could like really zoom into this derailleur and like get nice, real clean picture of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the way I do it now is like, freaking step away, step closer.
And that's what happens when you have a fixed focal length. That lens is called a prime lens. Right. They're actually sharper and a lot nicer, like as far as like from edge to edge, because they don't have as many moving parts. They're going to be a little bit sharper than your zoom lens, but they limit you on what you can do. And you're right. You got, like, if you're going to, like, if you have that and you're going to like a family function and you have like 10 people in there, you're like, okay, I got to either get closer, I got to back way up, because you got to fit people in. Right. With a zoom lens, you can move the lens in and out to help determine or fit your frame to whatever you want it. And it's much more versatile. That's the word I was looking for, is versatile. Right. So if you're a beginning photographer, and if I were you and I'm starting to want to use an interchangeable lens system, I would go with something like a 16 to 70. And that's what I started with when I was doing my show, because I had one lens. It was versatile. I could take a wide shot, I could take a close shot, and everything in between. But now for sports shooting, I kind of did the same thing. When I first started going to the Prairie City races last year, I had the A6500 and I had one lens. I had a 70 to 200. And what that lens allowed me to do was to still be kind of wide at 70, but get really close in and tight at 200. So that's where when you see a lot of these sports photographers, they got that gray lens. It's probably about, I don't know, it's almost 12 inches long, I want to say. And
yeah, I got a buddy that shoots for friggin' NFL, and he's got some just insane lenses that he uses.
Those are usually like 400 or 600s, and those things are look like cannons on the end of it.
Yeah. I think he told me some of those are like $20,000 for just the lens or something like that.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's just insane. That's the other thing about cameras in this in this space that we're talking about too, is like, okay, you could spend $1,000 on a camera, and then like you could just go drop more and more on that than in lenses, right? Yeah,
so that's the other thing. You can like totally geek out on that kind of stuff and then end up spending a ton of dough. And again, that depends on. Well, I'm gonna give you a caveat. The equipment does not make the person, like what you output. You don't need all this awesome equipment to create something cool. You can create something cool on your iPhone. It's just,
there's freaking Instagram channels like that, and you're like, holy shit, they took that with an iPhone.
Right.
That's why I go through that process I was talking about earlier. I'm like, well,
So you can totally, as long as if you are creative and you know how to work composition, and you can get your lighting right, and know maybe some post processing in Photoshop, you can create some cool stuff. So don't get all cut up on the gear. Just get the gear you need to get the job done in the beginning, and then work your way up from there. And that's kind of what I did last year. I started with one lens for shooting what I needed to shoot, and the 6500. And then when I kind of got further into my career and go, okay, I really want to do this. Then I started kind of looking into, okay, I need this lens because I need I do some really cool shots is when a biker gets real close to you, and it's got like this weird fish eye look to it, but the biker looks like they're right on top of you. And so you have to use a really wide angle lens, like a 16 millimeter, to get that cool shot. So then once as you decide what you kind of want to do, then you can start filling in the gaps. And then maybe if you start making some money, then you maybe start upgrading your gear a little bit and then tweaking it that way. But I started out with kind of just the 6500 is like kind of a middle of the road. That 70 to 200 was, it was $1,000 for that lens, but that's not even their high end lens. It's kind of like the next step. I mean, that's their lowest. Well, they make another one that's a little bit lower than that, so it's like their mid range lens. But you can go crazy on gear. I mean, there's so much expensive stuff out there. I'll give you one example. That the new camera body I just bought, that Sony A9, I think it's like $4,000. I mean, you can you're
like, buy a camera or buy a nice mountain bike. So when you go out to shoot your races, for example, you just show up with, like, you have just one camera, or like one camera and like 10 lenses, or you got like a couple of cameras so that way you don't have to like switch between stuff quickly? How does that go?
Well, I've done both as far as camera bodies. It just depends on where I'm going. So say that's I shot the SAC CX, the cyclocross races this last season in the winter, and they run all day, and they run the kind of a multiple lap race. And if I don't having to travel very far, I can bring two camera bodies with multiple lenses, and I'll have them I'll have one sitting on I have a little harness on my backpack on the front where I can stick one camera, and I'll have one in my backpack. So I'll have my zoom lens on one. I might have a wide angle lens on the other. So I'm not having to change lenses during the action.
Right. So that
saves me time. Yeah, saves me time. So my A6500 is my secondary body now. And you'll see a lot of pros do that. They'll actually have two cameras sitting on their chest harnesses, or they'll run around with 2 or 3, some of these guys. It's just because they don't want to miss a shot if the action is happening fast, but they need to change focal lengths, whether they want a wide shot or a tight shot. So, but like when I go to North Star and I got to hike the course there. So I start at the bottom, and I know some of the listeners might have been to North Star before. You start.
So for people that aren't familiar, North Star is a ski resort out here in Lake Tahoe. So you're already up at elevation when you're at the bottom of the hill. So just to give you guys some perspective.
It's a bike park that's got like cool jumps and wood features, and it's like a mountain biker's paradise up there. Because it's cool because you get all the fun of going downhill, and then you get on the lift, and you get to ride the lift up, and you're not having to climb all this stuff.
Right.
So it's
We're gonna start talking religion now, huh?
It's cheating. It's totally cheating. I didn't earn any of this, but I get all the be able to go downhill. It's so cool. But when I'm there, I always where the runs end at the bottom of the lifts, I start there and I walk all the way up, and so I have to keep my pack pretty light. I can't carry a ton of gear because it's like, I think I'm packed probably weighs about 20 pounds with all my gear in it. And so going from there to the top to bottom, I think it's probably about 1,000 feet, maybe a little bit more.
Right.
And that'll wear you out. At the end of the day, when I come home and I'm getting ready to download my footage, I'm pretty tired. So
yeah, there's a guy on the channel right now that's in the comments, and his he's quite the camera guy as well. He does POV videos and stuff like that. And he was saying he had like a G5, I think. And then between carrying that and a drone and maybe, I don't know what that thing's called, like a little wheelie system that's on a string and a bunch of other crap, it's like, he's like, man, this thing's like 25 to 30 pounds or whatever on top of, your water or whatever, and you're riding the mountain bike around.
So I'll actually train, because I'll ride a mountain bike. Depending on the course, I'll sometimes use my mountain bike to get from spot to spot. So I'll train during the season and throw extra weight in my pack, or I'll cruise around my camera gear. I'll just bring it out just to shoot for fun, just to give myself that little bit extra weight so I'm not dying out there. I know some guys are using e-bikes that are professional photographers, because if you got to go fast from spot to spot, and you got that e-bike gives you that little extra speed to get to the next spot, because I'll give you an example. California Enduro Series will run a race with multiple courses, like at a North Star or at Mammoth, and they'll be running different skill levels. They'll have like a pro level, they'll have like a class 1, a cat 2, a cat 3. They're called categories depending on your skill level. And so you might have to go from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain to capture the next race. And it's like 3 miles away, and you got to get there in like 10 minutes. And so, and you're going through crazy terrain or something like that. So, but yeah, the gear can get heavy. So when I'm doing depending on the shoot, I have different backpacks. So I have like a low pro Whistler pack that I can carry everything in: my drone, my gimbal, I carry 3 lenses, 2 camera bodies. That thing will weigh it's probably getting closer to 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple smaller packs. I got a Camelback. I also have I just picked up an Osprey. So I use different sizes depending on what I want to bring to the shoot.
Yeah, I definitely need to get a different bag. Just the more that I'm carrying around now, camera wise, especially once I bought my drone. So it's like between carrying my drone, and I usually have an extra gimbal with me, an extra camera with me, and I'm just talking GoPros, and those things are tiny. And then I got, my batteries, and then you got all your crap that you need to fix your bike with in case something happens. Good God, dude. Like I see these guys that are wearing these little hip packs and I'm like, oh man, I'm way too paranoid for a hip pack.
Yeah,
and plus the fact that I'm carrying like all this camera gear. It's like, okay, what the
I yet to still I cannot find like the perfect pack. I've gone through a bunch of different ones. I've kind of got it down to like the three I kind of really like now that kind of work for me. But even then, I've had a company called F-Stoppers. I think it's F-Stoppers, or I think that's what it is. They make what's called an ICU, which is an internal camera unit. I think is what ICU stands for. And they're a little modular unit. So I bought a couple of those to stick in, because Camelbacks just come in an empty shell, right? They're not really specific to what you and I are doing out on the trail. So you can buy these ICUs that are square, and then you can slide them into your Camelback or your Osprey or whatever you're carrying. And then you can and it's got little compartments that you can put your lenses or your GoPros and batteries in. So it's not all sloshing around when you're cruising around if you don't have some sort of little like organizational system that'll separate them out.
Oh yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
So I've got a bunch of those too, depending on what I'm carrying.
So the chat's saying that it is F-Stoppers.
Cool.
Good. So, you mentioned other guys are riding e-bikes around. So what is it that you're pedaling around?
I've got the Mojo HD3.
So you're an Ibis guy.
Yeah.
Is that a 29er or 27.5?
27.5.
27.5.
Yeah, the 29er is the Ripley.
Oh, okay. I'm not very familiar with their line. The only one I know is the new one, the Ripmo. That's the one everybody's talking about.
That's on my hit list. That's basically the Ripley with a long travel.
Right. Yeah. So, how long you been riding?
Yeah, I rode as a kid, like BMX and around our neighborhood and that kind of thing. But mountain biking, my first bike was like a Marin hardtail, and that was I bought that in college. I think I had that 20 something years ago, and I kind of sat in the garage. And then I had a buddy. I used to live in Rancho Murrieta, and I walked into his garage, and I looked on the wall, and he had this Mojo SL up there. And I go, and it was the one that was carbon that had the clear coat on it. It was the gray carbon. He had like these blue anodized rims on it. I think he had the Crank Brothers rim set on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, that thing is like a rocket ship. It looks so cool. I've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, that's funny. I used to live out in Murrieta. Who was that guy?
Travis Wathen.
Doesn't ring a bell. I probably
knew him from Murrieta.
Yeah, I used to live out there, so I knew most of the mountain bikers out there. What year was that?
Let's see. That would have been 15 years ago, so 2003-ish.
Yeah. I think I moved out there in 2005 or 6.
We were out there at the same time because actually, before, this is another side story. I was actually trying to become a professional golfer. That's why I lived in Rancho Murrieta.
Oh, right on.
The one thing I don't do is anything half-ass. So if I'm playing golf, I want to do it to the best of my ability. I was a professional bass fisherman. Now I'm, trying to be I'm a professional photographer. I'm just like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to put all my effort into this. And the only thing I probably haven't been like fully, I train and I ride. I'm not like the best mountain biker, but I'm a decent mountain biker. But I've had too many.
Really cool. I'm sure we probably passed each other out there. I used to cut in new trails and stuff like that. Not that somebody would do that without permission, but
those trails were awesome out there. But that's where I learned to mountain bike. Mainly was out there in Murrieta.
No, it's good stuff to have right outside of your door. So if you can live in an area where you can walk out your door and just ride mountain bike, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's the draw to road bikes, right? You just leave your house and do it. So
when I saw that Ibis on the wall, well, then I tried to build up my hardtail, and I go, oh, well, this thing still sucks because it was beating me up.
Right.
And then I bought a Ventana. So because Sherwood,
they're a local company.
Yeah, they're right here in Rancho Cordova. I bought a Ventana. I don't even remember the name of it. So I built up. That was my first full suspension bike that I had built from frame up.
If I remember correctly, and correct me if you know, they're local here, and I'm pretty sure they custom build your size if you want it custom built.
And custom
like you can
too.
you can call them up. They got like 20 different freaking like powder coatings that they use, and even so they'll build it the way that you want. And then also, pro tip for you other guys out there that have aluminum bikes, if you want to get your bike powder coated, you can take your frame to them, and as long as you choose one of their colors, they'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper than most of the other powder coaters that are in the area. And then also you have somebody that's familiar with bikes, so they won't screw up some of the parts where you need it to be precise for it to fit back together. I say this from experience because I've powder coated a handful of bikes over the years, and I was really happy with my process out there with them.
Yeah, he was awesome. It's cool because if you're local, you can walk in there and see the facility and look at the frames right there and pick out your colors. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's definitely cool to have something like that here local in Sacramento. So let's get back to cameras. So what is your favorite picture that you've taken?
Actually, we were just talking about it. It's actually one I've taken of Trisha. She just posted it up on her Facebook. It's my favorite picture that I've taken because we were up at the Truckee Bike Park, and we had her boys and my boy Aiden up there, and we were riding all the features. And I took this picture of her because she's got a Juliana, and her favorite color is yellow. So she's got this sweet Juliana Furtado. And she's wearing
that's the Bronson, right? That's like the woman
Bronson.
It's the 50-10. Okay.
Yeah. And so I got this picture of her going over this jump, and she's got these red, I think they're Bolet lenses in her. I'm looking at it on my phone right now. And her bell helmet, and her hair's kind of flapping the side. It's my favorite picture by far. Even though I've taken like all these badass pictures of guys going off jumps but just the hair flapping in the wind and her just like down on the front of the bike. It's pretty awesome. She just put it on her Facebook page, and she got so many comments on that thing about how awesome she looked. And I was like, "Wait, where's my photo cred?
Right,
come on!"
Right? You're gonna have to start. You're gonna have to start watermarking the stuff you send to your lady, dude.
She gets all the credit because she looks awesome in that pic. I just happened to snap it at the right time. So,
isn't it funny how the person that's in the picture gets the credit instead of the guy that took it? They're like, "You did such a great job." They're like, "Dude, you just rode."
On that one, I don't care because she looks awesome in that thing. But yeah, that's by far my favorite one. But I've taken a lot of other cool ones though, and it's hard to pick of all the other ones other than that one. Some cool ones. It's pretty tough to figure out which are favorite.
How about what was the most fun like event that you've done?
What's the most fun event? You know, it's the most fun event, and this is not even mountain bike related. It's the Sacramento CX events. They are. So this last year was the first time we had some friends that I've been in the mountain biking community for a long time. And so I had some friends that always said, "Oh, you got to come out and check out the cyclocross." And I've said, "No, I got too many hobbies. I can't buy another bike. It's not mountain bike related. I'm not going to ride a road." And we went out and I started shooting the cyclocross races. And that race is so much fun. And the community is just like mountain biking community. The people are so fun, but it's rowdy. I don't know if any of your listeners have been to cyclocross or even know what. Like, I'm sure some of them know what it is. Where it's a set track where they go in a circle and it's timed, and they got little I want to say the 12 to 16-inch barriers on two sets of them or two of them. They got to go over and they go through mud, they go through sand, and they ride on these road bikes that are a little bit slacker. I want to say with knobby tires for the grass and for the sand, and sometimes it'll be on part of it will be on some cement, and people are out there with. It reminds me a little bit because we don't get this much of this back home. If you watch any of the UCI downhill stuff where guys are out there with chainsaws and freaking bells and like getting all rowdy, that's kind of what people over there are bringing bells and yelling at you. We had one friend of ours smash a pie in her friend's face, and and they have beer at the end. It's a blast. And so that was probably, I don't want to say one particular race. That whole event series where they ran 10 of them was so much fun. If people haven't done it or seen it, they should at least just go check it out because it's a lot of fun.
Right on. So that's here in Granite Bay, right?
They do them all in Sacramento. They go like they run them out of parks. So they'll go to like the Lemby Park, which I think is up in Alberta or something. They'll do one in Roseville. They had one here in Folsom. No, Folsom is Lemby Park. Gibson Ranch.
It's not a very big course then. It's like, how big is the circuit?
They're usually about a mile, a little over a mile long, depending on how big the park is.
And then these people do laps, or they just have to do like 1 mile as like balls out as they can.
No, they do times. So they'll go your beginners or category 1 races will do 30 minutes. and your pros will go an hour. So it's as many laps as you can bust out as fast as you can in that time period.
Oh, okay. So you have to complete a lap. So if you're halfway through, it's like that didn't count.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right on. So how do they decide then who is there always a like, or is there like sometimes the two people are on the same amount of laps or something?
Well, it's whoever does it in the so when it's almost like Supercross, you know how it's like 30 minutes plus a lap. So they'll do the time and then they'll have that final lap, and so whoever's in the lead at that time is the winner.
I see. Yeah. So if both people are at 30 laps, let's just say, and that last lap, then whenever they ran out of time, whoever finishes that one first, they get first place.
They got first place.
That makes sense.
Yeah. There's another cool one. Have you heard of Folsom Rodeo Cross?
No, what's that?
It's basically the same thing, but they run it at the Folsom Zoo. Like this Folsom Zoo out here has a park where the rodeo arena is.
Right.
And the only reason I mention it because we're talking about rowdy races and which ones are fun to cover. They do one at Halloween where everybody dresses up, and they have a place called Heckle Hollow where they have a DJ down there and they're pumping tunes. And the other cool thing about that is what's called have you heard of a hand up?
What's that?
So a hand up is when the racers come by a certain section, people will hand them up things like water or beer, and some guy was giving out celery and some guy was giving out cookies. And so the racers will grab it and eat it and keep going, and we'll ride through. And so there's actually a company that makes gloves that's called Hand Up Gloves. That's where it comes from.
I didn't realize that was their name came from. Actually, I know those guys. They send me their stuff all the time.
Oh, that's cool. They make awesome
I just
stuff,
never really asked them where they came up with the name.
So you get a hand up where and most of the time, other than Halloween, where it gets crazy when they're giving you like weird stuff, like somebody was giving out tater tots this last year.
Right.
It's usually beer. So that's the other fun thing about the races. You know, they're handing out beer. So it's
I'd have fun with it at the moment, and then I'd get home, and then I'd start thinking about like, well, where did that stuff come from? And then I'd just get all inside of my head, man.
I raced one on a mountain bike, and you can't race it on a mountain bike. It's so slow. I was dying out there. Those people, they all make it look so easy. I was like, I wanted to puke after like 2 laps.
It's definitely one of those things with biking that like having the right tool makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I didn't want to buy a road bike either, like you were talking about earlier. So I wanted to burn some more calories. I bought a single speed bike, and I started commuting because I live in Sac, I work in Davis. So I'll just start commuting, and that was like a huge difference over trying to ride a mountain bike that far, right? And I remember like taking my lady when her and I first got together out, and she was trying to ride with us, you know, on some ride we were doing on a mountain bike, and she's just dying, and I'm like, and she's like, you got one gear, and she's like, I got all these gears. I'm like, yeah, but your tires are just killing you, and like how you're sitting, and you know, she got on my single speed and was like, holy shit, that's like night and day.
Yeah.
And then down the road, still didn't want to buy a road bike. I bought a CX bike because she got into road, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to buy a road bike, but I do need to be able to climb. So I'll buy this CX bike. And that once again was just like, it was just insane to me how much more efficient that was than even my single speed was. Just little stuff. It was just like, I mean, they look the same. I mean, if I was a regular guy that wasn't into biking, it's like 2 bikes next to each other with the drop bars on them. You know, they're both road bikes, right? Right. But it's just like insane how much of a difference it is. Well, so did you break down and buy a CX bike?
Oh, I did, and I only bought one because Trisha started. I'm always taking the photos, so now I don't really get to race. So, but I like to see her race and involve her. So we bought her a CX bike, and then I wanted to ride and train with her. So I ended up buying a CX bike for myself.
Right on.
So
there's one thing that I want to do to my CX bike so bad, and I'm curious if you have this. Do you have a dropper on your CX bike?
No, I don't.
Oh God,
but I would love one on mine. Because that thing's sketch when you're going down some of these hills and stuff. I'm like, I need my dropper.
Well, because you have your seat set, you know, generally speaking, if you're riding it, you know, maybe on the road-ish most of it, you have your seat set pretty high, you know?
Real high. Yeah.
So I've taken mine like on let's just say a road ride up to a place, which you would know Granite Bay from. So most of that is road to get there, and then do some rock stuff up there. And it's like, Dude, that's like my knee jerk reaction is trying to push the dropper that's not there, and I'm like, oh God, this is dangerous.
Yeah, she's really good on hers, better than I am. We ride like around Lake Natoma on them, and we're going down some. And it's not even that. I mean, it's a little bit loose or whatever, but I'm hanging off the end of this thing, and my ass is like scraping the tire because I'm trying to get. I'm like, I got to get down.
Right. And then you got the seat up in your chest, and it's just no good. That's
so if you're
funny.
talking about the right tools in mountain biking, that really applies because we're talking about photography here and photo gear. Same thing applies with photography. You got to have the right gear for what you're doing, depending on if you're going to go and shoot some action sports with your GoPro, or if we're shooting from the sidelines, like the way I shoot, or if you're going to shoot portraits or landscape, depending on what your lane is on what you want to do. That's why there's that huge range of cameras and lenses, because there's so many different things to shoot. You got to figure out, well, what do I really like to do? What do I enjoy? And then kind of figure out what you want to get to fit in that lane.
So what would, if you could go out and get another camera right now, what would you buy? Like money's no object, like whatever.
If I was going to get another if I was going to get another one, I'm just going to back up A9 to have another awesome one, so I wouldn't have to switch my lenses out.
Is there one that's just not practical that you would think about?
Okay, well, if I wanted to get super crazy, I would. You know what a red camera is?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Let's tell everybody.
Yeah, it's like a $50,000 video camera. It shoots like in 6K.
Yeah,
or 8K maybe. It might even be 8K. These things are they're the craziest video cameras, and like the footage on them is insanely awesome. But they don't sell you they sell you like a camera body. And then you got to buy all these peripherals. You got to buy lens. You got to buy this handle, and then you have to buy this all this stuff that goes on it, and it ends up costing like $50,000. But the footage, you shoot like an 8K, and then when you have something that's that big, you can like zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and never lose any image quality. But I'm not shooting enough video, but that would be crazy.
You could like film a movie with that thing. Right?
Totally.
Yeah, that's crazy. So is there some event that you haven't been to that you would like, that you think would be super fun to be part of?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to shoot some UCI downhill stuff.
Go
to like some of these
something around, where would somewhere around here be that does that, or somewhere?
Well, North Star, you know what? North Star is pretty close to that, because they run the Enduro World Series, the EWS. Came through this last year at North Star. So Richie Rude was there.
Oh, cool.
Who's the guy from down south? And I'm drawing a blank on him. He writes for Specialized. Shoot.
I'm not sure right now.
I can't remember his name. Curtis Keene.
Oh, okay, cool.
He was up here, and some of the other, like, there were some other big name gals that were racing up here as well. And so that almost is like a UCI event. So that was pretty cool.
So when you said that, though, you must have had a place in mind. What place were you thinking of?
Oh, here. Well, you know where I'm going this year. We're going to Sea Otter.
Oh, okay.
So
no, but when you said you wanted to shoot like a UCI downhill, were you thinking like Whistler or something like that?
Yeah,
or?
That's the place I would go. I mean, that's like, because then I could go up there for 2 weeks and I could ride too. So
right.
Yeah,
it's a business trip, babe.
Hell, she could be going with me.
Oh yeah, there you go. We're going on a business trip.
Yeah, that would be like bucket list for sure. Yeah.
So what makes it that way for you?
It's just the terrain up there, because that's like
just beautiful.
The loamy ass. I mean, it's always loamy up there. It's beautiful. You're going to get some awesome courses up there where you can get some really cool shots, and then you can stay up there to ride. And it's just that's like a mountain biking mecca where the community is just awesome. Everyone up there. Have you been to Bend, Oregon before?
I have been to Bend. I only got to do one ride while I was there, but it was super fun.
It almost seems like that would be kind of the same feel, but on a bigger level. Because when we went to Bend, I loved it there. I mean, that community was so cool, and riding Phil's trail system was a blast. And
yeah, and there's just a shit ton of riders out there. So it's not like everybody you talk to is like, yeah, mountain bike. Of course I do. I got a lawnmower too. Like everybody has a mountain bike and a lawnmower. Like yeah. Right on. So what would you like to see, happen with Bixxel Media over time?
It'd be fun to get into some more commercial stuff.
So what does that mean?
It means like shooting for Red Bull, or getting some stuff in MTBR and on Pink Bike and kind of on the bigger stage. Because right now what I'm shooting is race participants. So it's not like shooting cool landscapes with cool sun flares and I'm shooting for a cover of a magazine. It's a totally different mindset. Like those shots, those cool shots that you'll see like I say, in Red Bull or whatever, these guys, the setup on those shots takes days. Like they have to like hire a crew and they got to set up, okay, we're going to go to this location. We're going to do this and that. So when I go out to a race, I'll scout, but I'll scout like the day before or an hour. Right. I'll ride the course an hour before the race starts. And I'm just trying to get something to make somebody look cool. So I can't like set up a bunch of cool flashes everywhere. I don't have that time. I have a time constraint.
Right.
So,
right. And a budget constraint as well. I'm sure, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, but once I'm doing, like I said, I have a day job like most of us do, but I'm going to be cutting loose from that here pretty soon. I'm going to have more time and solo missions to go set up cool shots. So I'm going to start getting into doing that a little bit more and kind of taking it in that direction and put it more on a big scale and maybe travel more with the family where they can come with me. And we got a 36-foot trailer that we use when we go to the races. So
that's cool.
And do some cool traveling and go to exotic places and incorporate. Hey, I got to work, but guess what? It's at Whistler and we're all going. So
right.
Yeah.
What are you planning on doing down at Sea Otter?
Shooting the races. I got a press pass. They had a cool event. Have you ever seen dual slalom?
I've never been to Sea Otter either. I'm planning on going this year. Maybe we'll bump into.
Oh, that'd be all. Yeah, for sure.
But I've never been there, so I don't even know what to expect at all. Other than I've been to a few mountain bike kind of festivals. Like I've been to Sedona and I went up to Interbike. That was at North Star, and so I mean I have an idea like what it's going to be in terms of like tents and vendors, but I don't know what to expect otherwise. And I just heard that just Sea Otter is just crazy humongous. So
you and me both, because this will be our first year. We tried to go last year, we couldn't fit it into the schedule, and so I booked our campsite early. I got a press pass, and I'm hopefully, because now on the dual slalom they have a limited number of media passes, and so I told the gal, I said, hey, I'd love to be in the dual slalom, and she says, well, she's going to try to get me one, so it's going to be like a lottery. So if I get there and I got a dual slalom pass, I'm going to be totally stoked because that's like one of the premier events there.
Oh, nice.
And it'll be fun to shoot that. So I'm totally excited to go check that out. It starts at Wednesday. We're going to get there Wednesday and we're leaving on Sunday.
Yeah, I was planning on putting in a request to see if I could get a media pass for that too. Because just to get in instead of buying a ticket. Because I didn't think I could get approved for Interbike and I did. So
right.
I don't think I could get approved for Sea Otter, but who knows? Maybe I can.
Yeah, right. It can't hurt to ask, right?
Right.
The same thing. I emailed the gal, and she's like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And here's you get in all days, on your media pass.
Yeah,
and then I'm really hoping for the dual slalom pass because that'll be really cool.
Yeah, and I saw they had something where you had to like register if you wanted to have a drone too, or something like that.
They got special rules. And well, talking of drones, I know I saw on your website. Are you using the Mavic Air or the Mavic Spark?
Dude, I'm so bad with names. I think the Air is the one I have. It's the little one that does 4K.
Is it the one? Did the arms fold?
Yeah.
Okay, then that's the Spark. I think it's the Air. That's the Air.
I'm pretty sure it's the Air.
Yeah,
I think the Spark is the one that's like solid.
Yeah, it's super tiny, fit in your back pocket.
Yeah. The Air is pretty small though, man. It's been really impressive to me.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to like. When I first got it, it was like being a little kid and having a remote control car, except for this thing can like get further than 20 feet away from you. You know what I mean? It was like, whoa, this is really neat. And I like flew it around my neighborhood, and it's really kind of cool to like see everything up in the air. And then I had to really it took me a while to realize how I could use that for my content.
Right.
And then once I started using it for my content, it was kind of opened up a whole other bag of worms.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, worms.
Yeah. Because I mean, the time that it takes, it's not like with a GoPro. I could have another GoPro in my backpack on a tripod, or even sometimes I would carry one in like a little 3-inch tripod in my pocket.
Right.
So if I came through something easy, I'd have the gimbal on my chest already. I'd just take the one out of my pocket, sit it, frame it, walk back up the trail, come back through, and it'd be really simple. But with what you think is going to be this is going to just be a second, I'm going to take a quick drone shot. It's like 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's like at least, you know, it's like you take it out and then you set it up and then you fly it up in the air and then you you know, it's just like, it's so time consuming. And, you know, I realized that once I decided to start using a drone in my footage, that I couldn't have people with me that wanted to ride.
No.
You know what I mean? I had to have people with me that were like just totally chill, like, hey, dude, it doesn't matter how fucking long this takes. Because
it's gonna take all day.
yeah, you know, because and usually I would just do it whenever I was going by myself when I first started doing the first couple of videos like that. And then I was like, you know, I'd still like riding with people. So it was definitely interesting, or it was interesting to like kind of figure that out, you know. And then once again, you're like right now I kind of have my drone, everything's on auto with it, just because I'm not like, I'm just trying to fly the damn thing, let alone, you know, like really get the shot right, or like the coloring right. But that's the thing that I kind of want to get into next. And that's where I'm like, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, you got to make sure you have the right frames on both of them. You got to be shooting in the same, you know, color profile ish, and it's still going to look different anyway, because that one's camera is just better than the other one's camera, or you know what I mean? So it's like, it's definitely adds some complexity.
But it adds another cool, I mean, that just makes your video production and your quality just so much better. Like if you have that extra cool shot, that overhead shot, or that sideways flyby kind of shot, that it adds so much to the videos.
No, it's really fun. It's definitely like really fun, and it's definitely really appealing. The only thing too is like, it would be fun to be, and I'm sure I could figure out how to do this well, but like to kind of have some of your audio video synced up well with those shots. So, or your audio of your like, so say I have the drone flying out on the confluence, and it's like we're going down this trail, and then to have the audio from the GoPro that I'm wearing.
Oh, synced
but
up.
Like, yeah, but it's hard to do that. You know, you'd have to be like, make some kind of, I don't know, maybe you clap your hands above your head and then you go ride or something like that. So you have something visually that you can look at on the drone footage, then you can sync that to the audio. That way it makes sense when you can hear the bike, like, hey, he hit this jump, and you hear the sound of the bike hit the ground.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It looks right, you know.
Are you using Premiere or Premiere? That's Adobe's
product,
right?
That's the other Adobe product I know. That thing is just intense too.
It's a beast. It's basically like Final Cut Pro, just a different maker.
Yeah.
That's another big learning curve, is learning out, because you can detach your audio and sync up audio, but all that stuff. I mean, just to learn all that takes so much time. But once you learn it, you can make your videos look badass.
That was one of the things that was tough for me also when I started editing. It was, well, I always say the hardest thing in a YouTube channel is learning how to edit, because most people don't know how to do video or anything like that. Like GoPro's got it nailed down good enough that you can, even if you had everything set to auto, you can just hit record and you can get started. You know what I mean? And it may not look as tight as somebody else's or pretty or whatever, but it'll get you by. But the editing, there's no way to bullshit your way through that. You know, like you have to do that. And some of it is, you know, pushing the right buttons, but then some of it is actually learning to when to make a cut or when not to make a cut, or, you know, like that kind of flow or whatever, which I'm sure has a lot to do with like the same thing when you're shooting photos. You're like, oh yeah, I'm shooting some over here, but then you got to maybe move and get some over from this other angle, because that person might not like you to take the right side of them. They want the left side of them, or, you know what I mean? So
well, when I'm out shooting video, I always try to think about the editing process. So I'm thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this shot. What would be a cool transition? Okay, I'm going to get that shot to transition, or I'm going to get this angle because this will look cool. If I've got, you know, I'm going down this cool downhill section, I'm going to cut. This would be cool if I had a drone shot and this side pan shot, and I can cut back and forth. So I'm always trying to think like 2 steps ahead. Like, well, that will look cool, and then that will look cool. So when I get into the editing room, I know, okay, I already got what I need, and I always try to shoot more than I need, because how many times when I first started shooting video, to get back and I go, I need that shot, and I got to go reshoot that again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I got to go back out. So I'm always trying to shoot more than I need, because then I don't have to use it, and then I'm glad I had it. You know, especially if I'm shooting some B-roll stuff, for a cut scene.
Can you explain what B-roll is for people that don't know?
Yeah, so B-roll basically is just kind of like your filler. It helps you do with transitions. It's like your cinematic roll. So like you show the camera pans up and you see like the cool lake that you're getting ready to ride around. The birds are chirping in the background, and then you cut to a shot of a guy snapping his helmet and your gal putting her hydration pack on. With it's usually over music or some sort of sound effects. Yeah. It helps kind of like give more depth into the story. It's building your story, but you don't want too much B-roll because then it gets boring.
Right.
But you don't want but you want a little bit of B-roll to help add some flavor to your story.
So, how are you thinking about doing anything else in video? I mean, it sounds like you're pretty passionate about it.
That was my wheelhouse. Yeah. Photo was kind of like the secondary thing I was doing, and then now it's kind of the opposite. And I'm actually going to start getting back into video. I've already kind of got like a running list of the things I'm going to start shooting, because I work with a couple companies right now, like Loam Coffee's one and Club Ride Apparel, and I want to do some more stuff for them, but I've been the time constraints. You're working 20 hours on the weekend shooting a race, with the time you're shooting it, and then the editing, which takes just as long as it does to shoot, actually probably more. And then you got your full-time job. And so now I'm going to have extra time. And so I have all these cool video ideas I want to do. I just bought the brand new Mavic Air 2, but with a Hasselblad, the 1-inch sensor on it.
Yeah, you can focus with that too, right?
Yeah, and I got it mainly because I wanted to start shooting some drone photos. I thought that would be cool to get some cool overhead shots of the racers, like going through cool sections. I just did it 2 races ago with the TBF, and they all turned out really awesome. And so I'm going to start adding that into the mix as well. But then obviously it's an awesome drone. I'm going to use it for my video footage as well. So it fits awesome in my backpack, and that 1-inch sensor is so good.
So it's not too big that it fits into your Camelback, not the bad?
No, not the Camelback. I got to take the Low Pro Whistler with me. So the Whistler's it actually was made for skiing, a ski adventure photography backpack, but it works perfect for mountain biking. But it's pretty big. There's a guy I follow on YouTube who was having the same problem as myself, and he calls it. He hates that one because he says it feels like wearing a refrigerator on his back. It's a little bit big, but it fits everything. And I can still put a bladder in it. So for riding, I need water. I can still. Yeah. It's got a waterproof pocket in it where I can put the bladder in it, even though I don't think it was designed for that. It's designed to put like wet gear in there. So,
but that makes you feel a little better, just in case something happened to the bladder. You're not dumping all over
all my camera gear. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's why I use it. But so it fits in that bag. Now, what I have been kind of doing is just going, I'm just going to go shoot some drone shots today, and I'll just throw the drone in my backpack, on maybe a camera and one lens, and I can fit it in the Osprey or in the Camelback. I think I'm using the Camelback Mule right now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
I need to buy a new one. I have a mule that's like 10 years old, and it's just about done. So.
that's a pretty good lifespan on that one. You got your use out of it.
Yeah, I'm such a cheap ass when it comes to stuff like that, because it's like, on one hand, like, yeah, I totally got my money out of it, and on the other hand, I'm like, I don't want to spend $90 on a bag. That's stupid. It's like it makes no sense when I think about it. I'm like, dude, $90 and you use it for like 10 years. That's like a pretty screaming deal.
Yeah, does that come out to like $9 a year?
Right. But in my mind, I feel like a bag should be like $30. So I'm like, this is bullshit. They're just taking me to the cleaners for this thing. So I don't know. I guess it is what it is. So I always like to ask people how they came up with the name with their company. So how did you come up with Bixxel?
So I had my other little video thing that I was doing, the truth I liked coming up with cool logos and something different. So I kind of did, and then we did the same thing with Freedom Riders. We used the same company to build our logo. And if anybody's thinking of building one of those, have you heard of 48-hour logo?
No, I haven't. I have to look it up.
And there's also Fiverr. They run these logos.
Yeah, I know what Fiverr is.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So you basically pay a certain amount of money, and you can run a contest, and it goes all these graphic designers across the globe. Like somebody in Spain did my last one. and you can put it up for a week or 2 weeks, and you get all these cool logos, and you get to choose from them. But anyways,
so they send them all to you, and then you choose one?
Yeah, it's all via the website. So you'll get like this last one. I got like 150 different entries.
Oh wow!
And it was pretty inexpensive.
I didn't realize it went like that. So like you're doing that part for free. I mean, you're just committing to buy one of them or something, or
so you pay. So it's a contest, and so you can do as low as I think it's like $20, but then you get
nobody's gonna do it.
Nobody want to do it. Yeah,
right.
Or you get like just kids going, oh, I think I'll put together this cool little logo or whatever. And you get stick figures. So.
So what did you put up? Like
I put up $200. So
$200.
So with all the fees, I think it cost me like $250. Which, if you've ever shopped for a logo before, or had some like design company do it, they're like $500+.
Yeah, totally.
But this is cool, because you could come home and it'd tell you like, oh, you've had like 10 new entries, and you can say yes and no, and then it comes down to like the last 5 entries, and then you can have them do tweaks to it. It's really fun. So if anyone's thinking of doing a logo, that's the last 3 logos we've done have all gone through there, and they've turned out so good. So when I was trying to come up with a name, everything's taken. Like there's Lone Wolf, there's Sprocket Media, there's like anything bike related that you can think of is already taken. I'm like, man, what am I going to come up with? And so I like bikes and I like cameras. So I took bikes, BI, and pixels and put Bixxel together. And that's where I came up with Bixxel.
Right on. Is there any significance to the logo as well?
It's basically a sprocket on the outside with an aperture in the middle. So if you look closely around the B is what the aperture leaves look like in a camera, and then you have a sprocket on the outside.
Nice. That's fun. I always think, most of the time there's a story to people's logos, and you don't ever really think about them until like you've either gone through the design process or you've been on a team that's doing something like that. So it's always fun to hear kind of that, at least for me, I think it's fun because I put a lot of thought into that stuff too, even before starting my channel. Like one of the things, was just like what you said, like finding something that is available as a .com or a whatever, and then finding something that you feel like people will be able to remember. And then like just going on and on, there's just so many aspects to it. So
I do a lot of on the podcast stuff, and do a lot of research like on marketing and stuff through Instagram and everything that I like one name companies are like, so here's where I started. I was Aaron LeSueur Outdoors. So that's where I started.
That's
and I'm like,
sentence. That's a whole sentence.
I'm like, who the hell is going to remember this?
Yeah.
And, and that's what.
As a web guy, like when I'm driving down the road and I see on the back of somebody's car and it's like Charlie builds cabinets at yourhouse.com. I'm like, dude, somebody shake that fucking person, man. You'd be better off giving like a six numbered digits that somebody might be able to remember. And,
like
87543, .com would work better than Charlie builds cabinets at yourhouse.com.
So I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, first of all, no one can spell my last name because it's French. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no one's going to remember that. So I'm like, I got to totally rebrand myself. And that's when I just said, okay, I need to come up with one name company. And it's actually not Bixxel.media as a website. So I took the .media part because I thought that sounded cooler than .com, because media kind of explained what the company was. It's really just Bixxel. That's the name of it. So I wanted it simple, something cool to remember, and then something I could create a cool logo around. So if if people are trying to think of something, you have to think of like something simple that when people can remember, and one name. Like, what do you got? You got Xerox and Pepsi and Apple, and no one forgets those names. So
right. Yeah, that's kind of why I went with BB1KER, and I just spelled it funny.
Right.
And I was fortunate that was open, and so it's been challenging with some of my social media stuff. That's why I always put BB1KER B1 for my Instagram or my Facebook or pretty much everything that I've signed up for. So anybody that's going out there to sign up for something now, you can do BB1KER B1 and you'll screw me to the pooch. Here we go. So, what would be something that you would tell, a new somebody that's going new, like newly shopping for a camera? Like, what would be like the top 3 things that they should be really considering?
Well, okay, obviously price is going to dictate everything, right? So number one, you got buy something you can afford.
Is there a bottom line where you think that people should be considering?
I don't think so, because you can start with your phone. I mean, you can do a lot of cool stuff on a phone, but I mean, just if I was going to do a bottom line, buy something. If you want to get serious, buy something that you can change your lenses on. So you can still buy one lens and one camera, but then as you start to upgrade, you can add new lenses to your kit.
So you're probably around $1,000 at that point, or is it there are some stuff less than $1,000? I don't know cameras.
The A6000 and you buy a lens, I think you can stay under $1,000 with that kit on the Sony line.
So you're right around that then.
Yeah, figure pretty close to that. And then you can kind of go up from that, because the other thing, camera bodies change all the time. Like there'll be a Sony A10 probably coming out in the next 6 months. They're so fast to coming up with new technology and changing bodies, but your glass almost always stays the same.
So glass is a keyword, synonym for a lens, right?
Yes, that's right. Your lens, your glass and your lens. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I'm just letting other people know.
Right. So if you're thinking of upgrading, so I would, instead of upgrading from my A6500, I would just keep the better lens. Your lenses are always going to be where your quality comes from for the most part. A good lens versus a lens that's not as sharp and doesn't have as good an autofocus or in-body stabilization. So
that's the lens that's doing that. It's not the camera.
The camera has in-body stabilization and a sensor.
No, I mean the autofocus you just said.
The autofocus is in both. Well, actually, I take that back. The autofocus is in the lens, because the lens is what moves the elements in there. You have glass elements and multiple glass elements in the lens, and then when they move, they'll move forwards or backwards, depending on the distance of your wherever you set your focus point. So the processor in your little computer brain in the camera is what runs the autofocus. That's where the power comes from.
So there is two parts to it then. So it's like
two parts.
The camera itself has to have a processor that's processing what's going on fast enough to tell the lens to work well enough, and then the lens has to be good enough at it to actually do that responsively.
Right. That's why the A9 has a faster processor in there. Your autofocus is faster in the A9 versus the 6500, and it might be really small. It could be milliseconds, but that makes a big difference if you're trying to capture someone going at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah,
coming at you versus you panning with them, which is easier to nail focus on. But so if you're number one is price.
Okay.
Yeah, number one's price, and then what are you using the camera for? So price. What's the function of what you're going to be using the camera for? Are you shooting sports? Are you shooting portrait photography? Are you vlogging? And the third one, I'm trying to think of the third one. I would just say kind of ease of use. I mean, just find something that you're going to be comfortable with to start with and learn the ins and outs of it.
So I think, would you say that like actually going out and picking the thing up is probably like you have to do it? It's kind of like riding a bike, where you want it to feel good in your hand, or something.
I didn't even pick up I just kind of knew from watching YouTube stuff. I mean, that could help, but all the cameras I've bought have been online.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter much.
No, not much. You can always return shit. Like Amazon's got a great return policy if you hate it. But I guess because the ease of use is more like, can it fit in my backpack, or am I going to put this in my bike somewhere in my hip pack or whatever? And so if it's going to fit into what you're doing. But usually price kind of dictates what you're going to buy, and then you kind of look in that space of, okay, I've got $1,000 to spend, or I got $800, and which cameras fit in that price range, and what are the different characteristics of each? What do they come with, and how fast the autofocus? How fast? What's the shutter speed? Can I shoot 4K? Does it only shoot 1080p? Does it have a flip out screen? And I need a flip out screen because I'm going to be vlogging. So, I mean, so it just depends on what you want to do. But at the same time, learn what your camera can do. Go through your manual, watch your videos, and then just practice with it, because you can make awesome content on a $300 camera versus someone who's got a $4,000 camera. It really, it's the artist and the person behind the lens.
Right. Huh. I totally have remembered and forgotten the same question like 6 times, but it just came back to me again. So what are the things that you end up having to buy after the fact that you don't think about whenever you're like, oh, I bought this camera and I didn't know that I needed
extra batteries.
Oh, so that's one. As a bag, probably would be a big one.
Something you want to carry it in, but extra batteries is because these camera batteries, it depends. I mean, if you're out there shooting all day on your bike and then your battery dies after an hour and you go, oh crap, I don't have any more batteries.
Right.
Your day's done. So, and then think about your memory cards. Because I mean, a GoPro fell up the small card, like a 64 or 32 up pretty fast if you're shooting at 4K.
Yeah.
You might think about how big your either maybe extra memory cards or a bigger memory card. What else?
How about like filters? Is that a big one? Like ND filters and stuff like that?
ND, if you're the ND filter can be a big one if you're trying to shoot. So depth of field. I'm going to explain depth of field. So depth of field is that when you've got a subject in the foreground, say it's a talking head, like you're doing a vlog, and then behind you is all blurry. So in order to get that, you have to open your aperture on your lens wide open or pretty close to it. And so if you're out shooting a mountain bike video and it's bright sunlight, well, your camera can't shoot at that wide open and the frame rate. So you got to be shooting at 24 frames a second. Well, you can't, because you can't shoot that high because there's too much light coming in. So you have to put in what's called a neutral density filter on there. So an ND filter, all it is sunglasses for your camera. And you might need this. It's a thing you don't think about. And they make a couple of different variations. They make one that just is one filter with one. They're called stops, f-stops. It's a stop is how much light is entered into your camera. So it's basically how much light is coming in. They'll be darker or lighter depending. You'll have an ND4, or they go by 4, 6, 8. They'll go with 16, and as the number gets higher, that's the more shade that's going to be on that ND filter. So it's going to let less light in. Now they do make some, which I have.
Is that how, like in the movies, how they shoot like night scenes in the daytime or something like that?
They're using ND filters to cut the light, so it makes it look dark.
Oh, I was wondering how they did that.
They have variable ND filters, so it's basically two lenses, and you twist them, and as you twist them, they can get lighter or darker, and that's what I have for my video, for my 6500 in my lenses. Is I'll use that variable ND, because then you can control the amount of light depending on, maybe it's not that bright or it's a little bit cloudy but still too bright, and you need to shoot at that lower aperture because you want that blurry background to make your person in the front stand out.
Are you looking at like the display on your camera to decide like how to set that, or you're just doing that from experience, or
definitely like the display? On
the display. So you'll just set the ND filter, take a picture, or actually you don't even have to take a picture. You just look through the display and then you're like, oh, it's not dark enough or whatever, and you just kind of change it.
Yeah, so if anybody's looked at the back of a camera, there's a couple different things on. There's one thing called you have a light meter. So if you look in the back of the camera, there's going to be a 0, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then it's going to go negative 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. And you'll see this little triangle or whatever it is on your camera. It's going to, depending on where you point the lens, you're going to see that little indicator move left or right, and that helps you to let you know there's too much light coming in or there's not enough light coming in. So you can see that in the back of your camera or through your viewfinder. That's one way. And then if you want to get really techie, there's this thing called the histogram. And I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's another little thing that looks like a bar graph, but looks like a bunch of little waves on it. And those are basically, it's a light meter, but it's a little bit more technical and scientific. It tells you in waveform and wavelengths how much light is coming into each channel: red, green, blue, black, and white. So that those two tools can tell you if you need to put it, how big of an ND filter or how much light, how much of the shade, I'm calling it shade, but that's not the right term.
Yeah, I get it.
Of the ND filter you need to let in to get you at what you need to be shooting for your video. So you'll see a lot of YouTubers talk about ND filters, and a lot of guys will use them because they want to get that foreground and background separation. Yeah.
It's really tough, at least for me, like with those type of scenarios, unless you're somewhere, somebody's just talking about Sedona in the chat, and it's like that, a place like Sedona where you're pretty much out in the open all the time, then I could see you wanting to, or potentially wanting to do something like that.
Yeah.
But like somewhere like Tahoe where you're like in and out of the shade consistently, it's just really tough, because like what you could have for that sunny spot
Right.
it's gonna look like shit when you're in the dark spots, you know.
And you wouldn't be using a filter like that on your. Well, they do make them for GoPro, but you wouldn't use it in the scenario you're talking about. It's usually in a situation where the light's going to stay the same.
Right.
You're in one spot. If you're going in and out of shadows, and that's not going to work because you're, like you said, it's going to go underexposed and overexposed and underexposed and overexposed, and so really no way to combat that. That's just part of the gig when we're shooting mountain bike vids.
Yeah. How about polarizing? Anything to say about that?
Yeah, so the polarizers, what those do is they make your colors pop, especially like your greens and your blues, and then they'll cut a little bit of the glare off on water. So I use a polarizer on my Mavic Pro because I want to get, like, if I'm shooting something overhead, so I want that scene to look really crisp, and I want my greens to look awesome green and my blues to look really blues, and that polarizer just gives you more vibrant colors. It basically cuts down on the glare and the reflection that the sun gives.
You just slide that on the end of the drone. Yeah. So
who do I have? Polar Pro is the company I use. Polar Pro makes they make them for every Mavic product, and they come in the same sort of things like an ND filter. They come in 4, 8, and 16 because mine's a combo. The ones I use for my drone is their ND plus polarizer.
Oh, that's neat.
So I can run slower shutter speeds or frame rates with the ND filter if I'm shooting out in the sun, if I'm trying to get, an overhead shot at 12 noon or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the polarizer gives you that extra pop in your footage of the scene. And
that's really interesting, man. I mean, it really is to me. It's like so much to learn, just to be able to take a cool picture, or to like do a cool video. And there's so many aspects to it. I mean, it's the hardware aspect to it. There's the artistic aspect to it. There's the photo or video editing aspect to it, like the touch-up portion, like the setup. Like it's insane how much there is to learn.
I mean, and most people don't know until you start getting into it, right? You're like, oh, I'm just going to GoPro and I'm going to go make some cool videos.
Yeah, that's what I thought a couple $1,000s ago whenever I started my channel, man. I was like, dude, I got a GoPro. All I need is a freaking $250 fucking gimbal and I'm going to be golden. I'm going to be like, the YouTube truck's going to show up with all the money and that's just going to be fucking awesome. And then I think I had a picture on my website whenever I first started the channel. Like my first tripod was for those of you guys listening, I did the quotes signal. So that means what I'm saying is really important. I know my first tripod was like an empty beer can. I was like, just set the GoPro on top of it, and then real quickly I realized that I needed a tripod. And then I found out that a cheap tripod's not as good as an expensive tripod.
Oh man, no.
It's like you just go through this whole process. And I think that's the thing with cameras that's so like, it's scary is because they're not cheap. I mean, even a GoPro is a couple, $500?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's definitely, they set the bar high, for the gear,
It's definitely not cheap and time consuming. And then you got to figure, you got to have a good computer that you can edit on, and you got to spend some money on an editing software. I mean, next thing you know, you're like, where's all my money going? And it's
right.
But it's the cool thing about it, I guess not cool, but once you've bought a bunch of gear, your investment's done, right? So you got a computer, you got your hard drive, you got a couple cameras, you got a cool mic, you got your editing software, and then you're done for a while. Then you go create a bunch of stuff, and then so you start adding to your kit and doing other stuff. But you can, and you got to have a drone too, because the drones are cool. But
right, there's about we just spent like $6,000 in a matter of like 10 seconds of you explaining what we needed there.
I'm still trying to think of what other things that people might need that they don't think about with the cameras. But I really just think it's the battery, extra batteries. I mean, if we're talking sport, like
somebody said something about weather sealing. What does that mean?
So, well, obviously the GoPros are waterproof. Some of the cameras now, the higher end ones are they say weather sealed. That's basically to cover their asses if something happens in the rain. But like your high end Canons, Sonys, they come weather sealed, so you can actually go out and shoot in the rain in them.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm still a little suspect, and so I've came up with a way to where I can kind of use an umbrella when I'm out shooting. I stick it in my backpack straps that I'm using, and I found a way that I can fashion it in there, so I don't have to hold it unless it's blowing really hard.
Right.
But I mean, it's gotten wet a little bit here and there, but it is a little weather resistant. But some of the cameras that are on the lower end will not be weather resistant, and you can't really use those in weather or.
Is there like a photographer's insurance or something like that you can get?
I've heard that there is, and I just carry business insurance. You just and for the liability side, and then it's like for theft of your equipment or whatever. But I just actually went to a camera shop where a guy talked about how he put insurance on his gear for that reason alone. And it's something I didn't even look into before. So, and I think there's a time frame. I think if your camera's over a certain age, that you can't buy it at that point. Like I think it's too late. There's like a time period. But
do you have an opinion on cheap SD cards versus expensive ones?
Yeah, I try to buy the best quality I can, because what's on that SD card is my livelihood. So if that thing crashes or it gets corrupted, and I just shot 1,000 photos at a race and I just lost a bunch of money. So that's the one thing I don't really skimp on.
At the end of the day, I don't think the cheap ones versus the expensive ones are very widely, like there's not a whole lot of money to be saved there either. So at least in my experience, I completely agree with you. Like definitely spend the money on the good one. And the other thing is that for people that are listening, like there's the cheaper ones won't be able to write data to them as quickly.
Right.
And if that's the case, that could actually end up, kind of making some of your stuff not look good or actually like get corrupted, like what he was saying.
And it's slower to download and upload on your computer. I mean, I don't know if you've got time, you just put it in there and walk away and go make a sandwich. But I always try to. I mean, I belong to some photography groups on Facebook, and I've heard people talk about, oh man, this crashed. Where can I go to recover the data? And I'm like, it's a nightmare because, you go out and you do this big shoot, and you're depending on that one little tiny SD card holding all your money on there, and then either it goes corrupt, and you got to try to get someone to pull it off there. And never had to do it. I don't know what the cost is associated with it. Yeah, but I usually don't skimp on the SD cards.
I'll tell you what, man. Like I said to you before, I do IT, and like in my IT life, like any thumb drive that I stuck into a computer or anything like that, I just pull it out. I never did like the little Windows doohickey, like safely eject. But I tell you what, you start dealing with your freaking like hours of work that you drove for a day to get to.
Yeah.
You're safely eject the shit out of that, because you get one of those things that pops up every once in a while. It's like, could not read the data. You all of a sudden just reevaluated everything that you would have done differently.
Right.
And I in the past, I've had, sometimes where like a memory card would come up and do that. And it's like, do you want to repair? And you're like, because if you do repair and it works, you're happy.
Right.
But I've had it before when you do repair and then it pops up and it's like repaired, and then it shows you that it formatted your drive.
Right.
And you're like, oh fuck. Like that was my video of freaking Sedona that I just drove for 24 hours to get there and back. And I can't replace that, So with that being said, tell me, have you ever deleted an SD card by accident or lost some data because you like lost the SD card? Or
I've accidentally deleted some stuff, but I think I'd saved it, or I didn't need the footage. I know I've done something stupid like that.
Yeah.
But I don't now, because I have a backup system, and that's another thing that people don't think about is how you back up your footage. I have what's my redundancy? I think it's threefold. I have it on my SD card, then I back it up to a hard drive. That I have back it up to another hard drive that I keep in a safe.
Yeah.
So now I know I've got the footage in a couple different places, and if something goes down, I can pull it off the other one. And so when I do a new shoot, I'll finish the shoot, get everything all edited, and go through. And I usually scrub about half the photos on a photo shoot, because you miss focus or it's not good composition. I usually end up with half. And then I'll take everything that's done, and then that's how I'll back all my stuff up. And so
I've screwed up because I had multiple it looks like he's having some internet issues. I've screwed up because I've had multiple SD cards on a several day trip. we'll see how long it takes him to figure out that he got dropped. So basically what I've done is I go somewhere. We'll just use Sedona as the point of this story. Go somewhere. I know I'm gonna be shooting for a couple of days, and I have X amount of SD cards. So what happens is I take those SD cards, and I got like a little wallet, SD card wallet, and I put those little SD cards into this wallet as I'm going. And then somewhere along the line, I was drunk or something stupid, and I mix up the SD cards. And that's what's happened to me in the past, is that one that I think is empty, I've put in there. And then I'm like, oh, there's data on here. Must not be my data. Like I must have forgot to format it last time. Format it right there on the camera. And then whenever I get home, I'm like, where's that second day? Or where's that half of that trail? So I've done that. I know I've done that at least once. So I kind of have a method to how I put them back in that little wallet. And I think there was another time where I probably just like I've lost one or something like that. And then
my heart drops and I go, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I start to panic a little bit.
Yeah. And so what I usually do is I take it from the SD card, I put it onto my computer, and then I also copy it to my NAS storage. So, and then I'll edit everything on my computer and put it back onto the NAS later. But I usually delete the SD card as soon as I put it to my computer, unless it's something that I'm being like really paranoid about. Like I said, like if I went somewhere far away, like I'm getting ready to go to Texas, I'm gonna ride with a buddy down there, I'll probably wait until I'm done with my edit to format the SD cards if I can. You know what I mean? Or at least I'll wait until I get it from my computer to my NAS, so I at least have 2 more copies before I delete the SD card.
Right.
So it happens, man. It happens to the best of us. You know, they're always like, you know, I think those are the best lessons learned, or the ones that like take some like that kind of hit you in the chops real good, because you're like, oh, I will never do that anymore.
I always tell that to my boy when we make mistakes that cost money. I go, you'll always never make that mistake when it costs you some dough.
Right. And that's the thing about kids too, man. And it's like they don't have that expertise because they don't pay for anything.
Right.
You know, once they start paying for stuff, all of a sudden they give a shit, man. My son left for the military this year, and all of a sudden he cares about how much freaking toilet paper his fucking roommate uses. You know, little bastard didn't have any problem just like, oh yeah, I used a whole roll of toilet paper to wipe up this water on the floor. That doesn't matter. You know, there's a towel right there, dude, that can get washed. But funny how things come into perspective when you pay for them, right?
Absolutely.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with me here on the Biker Bar. This has been really fun for me. Definitely good to learn a lot about the cameras and kind of like have somebody that's have their professional expertise talking to us about that. Anything you want to say before we get going?
No, that was cool. I appreciate me having you on the show. It's been a lot of fun. If anybody hits me up, got questions about cameras, videos or whatever, they can always send me direct messages on Instagram on Bixxel.media. On Facebook, I'm Aaron Lesueur Bixxel. Just hit me up with questions.
So the Bixxel.media, you have your social media on there as well? Links to get to it?
I'm sorry, cut out there. Say it again.
So you have links to get to your social media on Bixxel.media?
Yeah, you can. There's little links at the bottom of the pages for my Facebook and for my Instagram.
Perfect.
And then you can shoot me a message contact page on my website too.
Okay, great. And then you do like freelance stuff as well. If somebody has something going on, they can just hit you up. And
yeah, so we cover race events, personal adventures. We'll do adventure stuff too, video and photo. And it's I'm trying to keep my niche, the mountain bike world or cycling world. So I'm not going to come do your wedding or bar mitzvah, but unless you're riding bikes at it.
Yeah. It's a possibility. I know there's a guy around here too. He does like adventure weddings. So it's like almost always like that. So he kind of got himself out of the the normal stuff. He's a mountain biker as well. That's kind of
awesome.
how I ran into him. Either way, dude, I really, really appreciate it, dude. I learned a lot. I had a great time chatting with you. I want to let everybody that threw up some super chats there in the live stream. I really appreciate that. Those of you guys that are listening on your podcast apps, make sure you swing by that BKER Bar podcast page and give the BKER Bar a review, hopefully a good one. If you want to give a bad one, you can do that on like Reddit or something like that. If you're watching the channel, you guys dig the content, please hit the subscribe button or the thumbs up button. The thumbs up definitely like make YouTube's algorithm and guy behind the curtain push the magic buttons to make the channel get out there more. The subscribe button lets you get notified. There's a bell there too. You can click that, gets notified whenever I'm doing new stuff or videos are getting uploaded. So that's key. The subscribe button makes me happy and I like being happy. So just keep doing that. I really appreciate everybody out there that's tuned in for this 2 hours, whether it's been on the live stream or on the podcast, whether it's today live or 5 years from now. Like, thank you for listening. If it wasn't for you guys, this stuff wouldn't be happening. Remember one thing before I sign off, it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one, bitches.